Hello guys, welcome to our channel. We post amazing revenge stories daily. Today's first story is posted by you/thrownaway betwin. I didn't give my twin brother my kidney because he had an affair with my girlfriend and then outed me as bisexual. Ryan and my twin brother Sebastian have never ever been close. In fact, he made life hell growing up and my parents didn't help by playing favorites, getting him better stuff on our birthday, only going to see films he liked at the cinema and giving him extra money for housework despite us doing the same amount of work. He would always put me down, belittle me, bully me with his friends at school, break my stuff and then blame me, and was just a pain in general. Growing up, the only people I knew to rely on was my older sister Jane, my cousin Kai and best friend Isaac, who all knew what an awful person my brother was. Anyway, cut to when I was 17 and I had my first girlfriend, someone I loved very much. We didn't have sex cause she wanted to wait till her 18th birthday, but it turns out that she was having an affair with my brother behind my back for half the time we were together and only got caught when it was revealed she was pregnant. I was crushed. She knew how much I hated my brother and she saw some of the awful things he did to me, but she still went and did that. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with him of all people. I punched him in the face and broke his nose and made him lose a tooth, but according to my parents I'm the one in the wrong, and now we have to help this girl who is carrying my brother's child and have to help support them. My brother then said he had no intention of being a father and told my girlfriend to get an abortion. She then ran out of town and I never saw her again. Don't know if she had the baby or aborted. All I know was that she was gone and my folks were still praising my brother as the golden child. I was still the black sheep and failure as usual. Another year goes past and me and my brother still despise each other, but I had started dating again. Was a long while, but I found someone. Found a boy I liked. I am bisexual and this new guy Daniel I had met at college caught my eye. He was deaf and I studied sign language out of boredom, so we got talking and things just seemed to click. We date, fall in love, bring him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to friends, and all feels great. At this point the only one who knew I was bi was Isaac, but one day walking into a cinema holding my boyfriend's hand I bump into my evil twin. He points, laughs, and says some homophobic remarks. I tell him to go duck himself and I go see a movie with my arm around my boyfriend. When I got home after dropping my boyfriend home, I knew I'd be facing something as I walked through the front door. I saw both my parents on the sofa, my mother crying about how on earth could she have given birth to someone so disgusting. Was it too much to hope she saw the light and was talking about my brother? But nope, she was talking about me and how I'm a stain on our family's name. My father gets up to yell at me, spout homophobic remarks and slurs. At this point I see my brother up the staircase with a shit-eating grin on his face. He then comes down and says he's uncomfortable with sharing a room with me, and my folks kick me out there and then. With what little clothes and money I had, I went to Isaac's house and his family took me in, where I stayed for 6 months, actually experiencing familial love and affection, and Isaac's mother and stepdad I consider my own parents now. Eventually me, Daniel and Isaac all get a 2-bedroom flat together and all is good for the time being. So cut to December last year. Me and my boyfriend, now husband Daniel, are married. Isaac was my best friend. My sister and cousin Kai walked me down the aisle. I have a brilliant job in graphic design, have my own house by the sea, and life has never been better. However, I got a call from my sister that my brother was in hospital. I hadn't thought about him that much over the 9-year period since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought up a lot of painful memories for me. I was told by my sister that Sebastian wanted to see me and that it was urgent, so I went to the hospital he was in and met my sister outside the front entrance. I ask her what this is all about, but she doesn't tell me and that I need to ask my twin. So I arrive to where my brother is, who have my parents at his side, and my folks actually look happy to see me, as if what they did to me hadn't happened, and Sebastian also looked really pleased to see me. It's safe to say something was off. Eventually I ask what's going on and why was I even here, to which my brother tells the family to leave us two alone. He looks so weak, as before he used to intimidate me so much. He told me that he was dying from kidney failure and has been for the past few years, but now he didn't have long left. I knew immediately where this was going. He then said he always regretted that we never got along, at which point I told him no. He looked confused and asked what I was on about, so I simply told him I wasn't going to donate my kidney to save him. He looked as if I had just shit in his food. He then went on about how bad the situation was and that he really was sorry for all the things we did to each other growing up. Like, excuse me? We did to each other? I told him that I just wanted a brother growing up that cared and loved me, who wouldn't try and break me every day for 18 years. He then called in our mom and dad and told them that I wasn't going to give up my kidney. They then started to spout off that I owed them for my existence and that I have a duty to look after family. I asked them where the duty was when they kicked me out of the house, or where the duty was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or their duty was to look after their grandchild when Sebastian decided he didn't want to be a father. I said for all the things he's done, from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and abandoning his child, that this was the universe's and my way of finally giving back what he dished out to bite him in the arse. I then turned around and walked out of the room, having that be the last time I ever saw Sebastian again. Not sure why they'd want a gay kidney anyway. I walked past my sister, who gave me a look. I gave her a look back, who then in turn gave me a look that said, "I understand." After leaving the hospital, I felt as if a great weight had been taken off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, pleased with my decision. Now last week I get a call from my sister calling to inform me that Sebastian had died. She asked if I was okay, and I said I was, that I didn't really feel anything in all honesty. She said she understood to a degree, as Sebastian hadn't been all that kind to her over the years either. I had my husband and Isaac there to support me. Honestly, at this point Isaac may as well be our adopted child, since he's living with us till this whole situation with the world is over. The next day I was getting calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me that I'm going to hell for being a bad son, being a bad brother, and for being a gay, and that me and my husband don't deserve children. Hubby and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This makes me second guess my choice of not giving my brother my kidney, even in death, is making things harder for me. I did wonder if I was a bad person and if I made the wrong decision, but I knew that if I was in that position I would have been left for dead. Screw him. Other bits of information that may clear things up: his renal failure was from living a hardcore lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. My folks and sister did get themselves tested to see if they're matches, and none of them were. I disowned them of being my family years ago, apart from Jane, so when I got married I took my husband's last name and hyphen it with Isaac's last name, to which his folks were very pleased about. Some family, Kai's folks and my dad's brother, have actually called to see how I'm doing and say they don't judge me for what happened. Others, however, have continued with said abuse, whom I have now blocked. If he had been a good brother throughout my life, I'd have done it without a second thought. I'd have done the same for Jane, Kai, Isaac, and my husband. But I felt he didn't deserve it. It's unlikely I'll ever see my parents again, and I'll make sure my children will never meet them. My revenge to them will be being a better parent than they ever were. TLDR, I didn't donate my kidney to my evil brother due to him being awful to me my whole life, having an affair with my GF and then outing me and convincing my family to disown me cause I'm bisexual. Here are some comments. First commenter. This is some beautiful nuclear revenge. Good that you stood your ground when faced with that tough choice. Okay, maybe not very tough, but imagine if you had given him your kidney. I'd say he'd probably just go, "Okay, bye," and then never talk to you again. Second commenter. Damn dude, I'm sorry you had to deal with all that bullshit. That was an exquisite revenge, and I personally think it's really cool way of doing your last name. Third commenter. Oh, you're a better person than I am. I would have laughed in their faces in that hospital room. Good for you sticking to your guns. Fourth commenter. Could have gone to the funeral to tell everyone who didn't already know what a horrible person he was, just rub the salt in even more, but damn, that's still amazing as it ended. Fifth commenter. Good to finally see a good nuclear revenge story. Gotta say you did the right thing. I would have done just one thing differently. When I went to the hospital, instead of just walking out, I would have stayed, sat down and listened to them beg or yell at you, sitting smiling and enjoying. Now getting ahead to our final story, posted by you/skidmarksmelabum. Almost kill someone we respect and put the blame on us, lose life as you know it. So, anyway, it is the early 90s, and I was in my 20s, working as an electrician with my best friend. We were known as the Hawkeye, me, and Trapper/Honeycutt, old MASH reference, team of our crew, and we kept everyone on the job site laughing and in good spirits, even in the worst of times. We were working new construction of an elementary school and had been on site since the very beginning. We were 2 weeks away from punch-out, that is where construction is complete and inspections are done, looking for any flaws or corrections that need to be made. Anywho, the superintendent over the whole construction site was a major jackhole, and had been since day one. He was new and wanting to make a name for himself. It was his first time running a job and he made several mistakes, and always blamed others. Remember me mentioning worst of times. He constantly cut corners to save on cost, which would turn around and bite him later on. He had gotten several good hands fired. He would run good contractors off of the job and bring in his friends to replace them. The drywallers and painters were a couple of examples, and I had heard that he had half of the plumbers run off and replaced with his crew as well. He was a total jackhole to us electricians as well, wanting us to work overtime, but not willing to pay it. He was really wanting to keep us behind so that he could charge the company fines. Our small company finally brought in a couple of extra hands, which pissed him off even more because we were starting to catch up. By the time Christmas rolled around, we were ahead of everyone else, and as mentioned, the job was nearing punch-out status. 2 weeks before Christmas, my friend's car, since I was his roommate, I carpooled with him as I didn't have my own transportation, lost its rear end, and we, my best friend and I, missed 2 days of work repairing it. The jackhole superintendent saw this as an opportunity and told our job foreman to have us fired, if not run us off the job site. He tried to kick us off property himself, but since he had no legal means, tried to have our job foreman run us off, citing we were unsafe and a distraction keeping others from getting any work done. His argument was dismissed since, as I mentioned, we were ahead of everyone else. It was the day before Christmas Eve, our last day before we would be off for the holiday. He knew our supervisor, who was visiting that day, was deathly afraid of snakes. Earlier that day, a small rattlesnake had been found hibernating beneath a porta-john that had been moved and killed. Gotta love Texas. The jackhole superintendent had brought a cooler full of beer for his crew for when the day ended. Well, our supervisor made his rounds, inspecting our work, and talking to our foreman, and since we were his last stop, was ready to leave and start his holiday. The superintendent told him to have a beer and pointed out the cooler. Our supervisor opened the lid to the cooler and had a heart attack. Literally, the dead snake was inside. When the EMTs finally cleared him, the supervisor was telling him that he saw me and my friend at the cooler earlier that day and blamed us. Of course, we had been under the foreman's nose all day, in which half of it was with the supervisor, and our supervisor was aware to the jackhole's tricks, so he did not give in to the demands of us being fired. Now for the nuclear revenge. My friend and I did not take kindly to our supervisor being harmed, nor to the blame being pinned on us. Do to us what you will, but do not harm those in whom we have respect. Like I said, it was the last day of work before the Christmas holiday. We had Christmas Eve and Christmas off. After work, my friend and I drove to a bait shop and picked up a gallon of Catfish Charlie. For those who don't know, catfish are attracted to really foul odors, and Catfish Charlie was one of the stinkiest baits used for fishing for catfish. I mean, one whiff will turn your stomach and you will turn green. A cast iron stomach is what's need not to just lose your lunch. We drove back to the school and around back to where the air handler unit was. For those who don't know, the air handler is the main environmental unit of commercial buildings, AC/heating. We opened up the main intake duct and dumped the whole bucket of the Catfish Charlie and closed the duct back up. For good measure, we had also added about 1.5 pints of water and stirred into a nice thinner paste so that it would not quickly dry out. I did learn that, even though long-time smokers, I could hold my breath a full 1.5 minutes, and my friend 2 minutes, probably due to him being ex-military. Neither of us could see for about 10 minutes due to the tears, and it was a miracle we didn't lose the contents of our stomachs. Even in Texas, winters can get cold, including on the coast, and this was a particularly cold winter, staying in the 20s and teens. It even snowed on Christmas, not enough to write home about, which maybe happens once every 10 to 15 years. Remember, this was Wednesday, and like I said, we had Christmas Eve and Christmas off, and then the weekend. 4 full days for that stink bait to stew in the running heating system. Come to find out later, the jackhole superintendent and his cronies had forgotten to lower the main thermostat before leaving for the long winter holiday weekend. The thermostat is normally lowered to 50 F when closed during cold weather and raised to 82 F when closed during warmer. Yeah, it was left at 75 F that whole weekend. It's Monday, and my friend and I pulled up to quite the scene that morning. Martians on all fours seemed to be littering the grounds of the school, projectile vomiting spewed everywhere. There was an ambulance, and 3 fire trucks on the scene with firemen in full rubbers, including respirators, running around everywhere. All of the doors and the windows of the school were open with giant fans venting the buildings. The air was putrid, and we turned green upon exiting the vehicle. Oh, holy duck, was all I could say. What the hell happened here? Our boss was sitting on the hood of his car next to ours, his breakfast artfully painted the ground. The jackhole superintendent and a couple of his guys were in the back of the ambulance on oxygen as they had taken the full brunt upon opening the building. Okay, let's tally the damage. The smell had permeated everything, and I mean everything. The school, besides cafeteria, was fully carpeted. The drop ceilings were of the fiberglass type, as well as the insulation, so they absorbed the smell. The walls that weren't cinderblock were papered and not painted. Since the inner ductwork was the insulated type, on the inside, all of that had to be replaced as well. Needless to say, tens of millions of dollars in damage. Also, a fence had to be erected to prevent such a thing from ever occurring again. Come to find out, the superintendent had skimped on the insurance and pocketed the money, so needless to say, it fell to his company to cover all of the costs. All of his underhanded dealings came to light in the end as well. Needless to say, he lost his job and was arrested, losing his contractor's license forever. Our boss never said anything, but I am thinking, due to the way he always grinned at us after that day, that he had his suspicions that it was us. But he never turned us in and did put in for us a big raise. Since the smell didn't permeate any of our stuff, and our jobs were complete anyway, the plumbers, electricians, and pipefitters were spared from ever having to enter that mess. Yeah, nearly 30 years, I guess the statutes of limitations are well up, so I can safely tell the story. I want to admit that I do feel ashamed for doing it. Being young and dumb and all is a great excuse, but a good contractor service went bankrupt and a lot of jobs were lost in the end. And from what I hear, the school still has a foul odor, even today, well, about 18 years ago from what I heard. Yeah, we expected to stink up the place but did not expect such a result. During that time, in the contractor/construction field, was a major boom. One could quit or lose their job, and be working at another company within the hour, and generally, earning more money. True, EMTs cannot clear someone from a heart attack. I should have worded it better. The EMTs did stabilize my supervisor. He refused to go to the hospital wanting to be home for Christmas. Since the EMTs could not force him, when they got his vitals stabilized, they left. A week later, an EKG did confirm the heart attack. He was admitted to the hospital for double bypass surgery. TLDR, corrupt superintendent prick on a job site scares my supervisor causing a mild heart attack, so we cause a huge stink, literally, and get him thrown in jail, and he loses his license. Basically pranks going all wrong. Here are some comments. First commenter. Well done. Nuclear revenge at its best. Second commenter. I like this kind of nuclear revenge where no one gets brutally murdered but people's lives are ruined for the heinous actions they took. Third commenter. Is there a higher level of revenge subreddit? 'Cause I think this is too strong. I read quite a few already but this is, on next level. Fourth commenter. Holy shit, I remember what one chunk of those catfish baits smelled like. I can't imagine a whole bucket. This is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please don't forget to hit the like button and comment below. If you don't want to miss such more videos, please don't forget to subscribe us.